basically paid what's now going to be £88,000. I mean, it takes a very great student to walk away from that, I think. And I think that's quite a huge issue.
But it shouldn't be walking away.
It's embracing it.
Yeah, well, then schools should encourage that.
Okay. I have a question, or I have several questions from the floor. And the first one I saw there was Alba, on the right hand side. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Boyd. Certainly TV up for this one. It was just a very interesting point being brought up tonight, and one particular issue that I thought was most interesting was the division between Part 2 and Part 3. And well, I've recently studying my Part 3, I've realised the benefits and the massive amount of education and business, financial, legal, statutory regulations that we miss out on in Part 1 and Part 2. Well, I personally maybe missed that class, but we separated up so much that perhaps it's a kind of a rethink in the curriculum and the education of which we study it over 5 years. So, maybe like the gentleman in the middle said, that it's a job for RIBA, set the curriculum that, rather than kind of the 5 years that we all studied and I enjoyed every minute of it, but it could be incorporate all the professional practice studies which are kind of lightly touched on, but after studying the Part 3, I realised that was missing in the 5 years in the
So do you have a suggestion from that?
RIBA, select curriculum. Or rethink it anyway.
Thank you. So Alison, I can't really see who's got their hands up, so could you possibly...
I think I'd like to raise a very simple issue which seems to be kind of blocked on apprenticeship. It's great to hear the panel all from very diverse different directions talking about that idea. You have someone who said that although they were a part-time student, they weren't a part-time student, they were working whilst they were educated. You had someone who said let's abolish the establishment as it stands in its elitist fashion. You've got someone who set up a fantastic website to link practice and education. Everybody's talking about the same thing. It seems to me that we can have diversity in architectural training. We can have an issue whereby you can study and you can pay for your education if you have to be for now. Who knows where it will be in 10 years. And it should be a case that you are trained on the job. In answer to the previous point, we're able to actually understand some of the details of professional interest if you're keen on that. If you're keen on animation or multiple media, you can learn that during your education and you can pay off your debt as you go. So if you've got £80,000 debt to pay off and you've got education that's going to take you 7, 8, 10 years, you can pay that off as you go. And I think it's a shame that we talk about the fact that we have to do the education without paying for it. And I think what I'd like to put forward with the Charter for Change is that we should encourage the idea of apprenticeship, and that should start early in architectural education and accelerate to the point where you're doing your Part 3, you're fully employed, and it's not simply a case of having to feel like you owe your employer something to gain that.
I think I agree with everything you said, except for one word, which is apprenticeship. Because that suggests a sort of master-servant relationship. It suggests a perpetuation of a set of values which you're taught through the apprenticeship method. But I think otherwise, I completely agree with you.
Great. Well, it'd be good if people put some of these issues to the vote, because I think I spent 7 years being educated. I was frustrated for years after the first 3. I've taught at university, and I think the first 3 are fantastic. And after that, I think the diversity needs to be encouraged through professional education and through payment. And I think it's great that you're starting a website where the minimum wage is the fundamental, but obviously that's got to be a lot higher, and that should start at degree level, and we should see where we go beyond that.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to build on some of the ideas, suggestions that's already been said. Firstly, I think we should really celebrate the fact that that architecture education, as has already been pointed out, architectural profession, completely different things. And I just want to say that architectural education, certainly at degree level, as someone's already mentioned, is such a brilliant springboard to pretty much go into just about anything. And I think we have an obligation to actually say you know, you do this degree in architecture, you can pretty much walk into everything you want, and I think we celebrate that. Professor Ruth Morrow once, I went to a lecture that she did, and she pointed out that the statistic that she had, that she said that out of every 100 people who went to first year at architecture school, only 12 out of 100 ended up becoming architects. So I think there's something in that. Secondly, I wanted to say something about the just the issue about diversifying education within your sort of, you know, your course, rather than doing it as a sort of part 1, part 2, part 3. At PhD level, you can do something called a doctoral development program, which basically allows you to pretty much go to any class you wanted to, from any faculty within the university. So you can go to business school, or you can go to like language classes or whatever, and I really think that we should be making a much more concerted effort to formalise that kind of sort of teaching relationship where you can basically supplement your own learning with whatever you're interested in. So if you're interested in doing, say, business and management, then you should be able to go to the management school. I think one of the problems with the profession is that too many architects don't treat their practice as a business, and they wonder why their accounts are totally in the air and why they're losing money. So I think there should be some sort of formalisation of that to allow people to do a much wider range of learning. And the last point I wanted to make really was about the minimum wage issue. You know, Alastair already pointed out that, you know, we should be looking at more fundamental things apart from money, but when it comes to the minimum wage, it's not about the details. I mean, McDonald's guarantees minimum wage, so why are we arguing about it, you know?
Thank you very much. So we probably have a suggestion there for what we can maybe put forward to academia in terms of allowing it, being more able to supplement your learning in things that you're interested in, which I for one think is a very exciting idea. Any more questions from the floor? I see a friend of mine, Alastair, sitting at the back there. He normally has a lot to say on these things, so I might see if he would like to respond to something.
Everything's all right, thank you.
Hello.
6 seconds to pick up a question.
Sorry.
Or suggestion.
Shall I give you a formal introduction? I met Alastair working for Architecture for Humanity, and I think he's recently done his part 3, and yeah, is working very flexible time, like trying to support himself from Architecture for Humanity, and I'm very impressed with his.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's not a statement, but it's what I'm doing. That's what led me here tonight to listen. I left Greenwich Architect 18 months ago. I had a job. I had my part 3. I was enjoying the career cycle, but it wasn't all there. I looked for something else. And now I've got to Architecture for Humanity in London. I support myself mainly with DJing, graphic design, small private jobs, thematic design for bars I work in, other pieces of work, whatever comes my way, logo design, websites. These are all skills I've got in part 1, part 2.
So maybe you might be an advocate for the idea that we sort of make it more apparent to part 1's, you know, the broad skills that are skill set that's taught, or advertise it to, you know, to really kind of show off the fact that our part 1 students have such a talent, have a wealth of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with Alison's points that we can basically take a lot of skills from part 1, do with that a number of different careers, a number of different professions. 3 of the graphic design jobs I did last year led to essentially architectural projects. That's one way of getting clients. Do a different job for them and explain to them that you're an architect. They might need an extension, they might need to change things like their bar. They can ask you for that work. So that's the situation I'm in. I'm not saying there's a route for everyone here, but that's how I've worked over the past few years. I don't have a point of question, but I just thought.
Thank you very much.
I'm really doing a lot. I started out in '98 as a really a yin yang to architecture studio to get out of the kind of all night, all day in there. I started listening to a lot of music, so it's always been a good hobby.
Thank you. I've got a question.